Come on, a little bit more than that. We got a lot of people. Let's hear it. Yeah. Well, hello on this beautiful Tuesday evening, early evening. My name is Denise Santi-Stave. I'm the person who puts together all the story programs for the festival, so I'm really glad you're here. We have a great evening tonight. I just want to welcome you all to the festival. This is just the beginning. There's more stuff coming up. But I think we should get started, don't you? Okay, and before we get started, just so you know, buy drink tickets there, get drinks there. That's the most important thing I have to tell you. Oh, and it's a big step up, whoever's presenting on this side and this side. So be aware of that, please. And without further ado, I'm going to give you over to Matt.
So we just want to cover that last bit there completely. So if you are a speaker tonight, if you are going to fall off the stage and harm yourself, please do it after you're done and try to be very quiet about it. People will help you, but we need to kind of keep it moving. So welcome everybody to yet another event here. So as we like to call it, PechaKucha, but PechaKucha is the actual pronunciation, but it's our night, so we're going to call it whatever we want. So welcome everybody here. How many people this is your first time being at one of these? Up, okay. How many people have been to more than 10? Okay, so we got a kind of a range there, a mix. So for those of you who have never been to one, the concept is quite simple and quite brilliant, because what's going to happen is somebody's going to come up here, and for those of you who are speaking, this is your tutorial. So you're going to come up here, take a deep centering breath if that's what you want, and then when you start talking, your slides start presenting. They're going to present here. You have a screen right here in front of you where you can see them. So you don't have to go, wait a minute. We got you covered here because we work with professionals here at the International Arts and Ideas, Festival of Arts and Ideas. The second thing is when you start speaking, the slides will start going, and 20 seconds later, the next slide will go, whether they're ready or not. They can't stop it. We can't stop it. It just goes. It's called a timer. It's built into the software. So that means in 6 minutes, 40 seconds, you're done. So when you get your last slide, and then there's a thank you slide, you're done. Please stop. The brilliance of this is it keeps it moving. We get 6 minutes, 40 seconds of brilliance, 6 minutes, 40 seconds of don't know what just happened, 6 minutes, 40 seconds of or 6 minutes, 40, it's of oh dear God, was that really? It felt like 4 hours. What I will tell you is when this is done, if I think it was like, oh, this is not great, somebody else is going to go, you know what I really loved? I loved that one. I'm like, that's awesome. And I'm like, I have no idea why. But that's the beauty of it, because we got 150 people here, 150 views of this. So that's going to be wonderful. Then the next thing that's going to happen is that speaker leaves very carefully. Do not fall off the stage. And then the next person will come up and it all repeats again. And if at any point during this you think, geez, I could do that, I could do better than that, we say, prove it. Sign up on the sign-up sheet, which there'll be one right over here, and just put your email down. We'll put you on the list. We put the call out next time. That's your chance. Step up and prove it. We have a lot of first-time people tonight who have never done one before. You can do it. Some of these you're going to look at it and say, well, I can't do that, but you can do whatever you've got within you. Tell us about your ideas, your passions, what makes you work. Tell us how something works. I keep trying to get one friend of mine to explain how doors that weigh 1,000 pounds can be opened with a pinky. He won't tell me. He told his kids when they were this tall. He won't tell me. I would like him to tell you all. He's not even here tonight. So, Tyler. So, at any rate, we're going to get this started. I just have to hit one more thing, and that's the safety announcement. Emergency exits. Venues often like me to cover that. So, the emergency exits is disperse. There's fencing here be careful. Do not run over people on your way out. That's mean. Be polite about it, but disperse. And with that, we are going to get started. We ready? All right. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. We're going to talk about the circus. Also, I'm a short person here. Hi, everybody. I'm Betsy, and I am a circus historian. This is a thing. And I am so happy to be here tonight to talk to you about one of my favorite things. But first, people ask me all the time, how did you get into this? Why circus? And I do have an answer for that. You know what? I'm going to go handheld here. This is the answer. You know what? No, we're not going to move this. So, yeah, to which I answer, it's been a while. And if you're wondering why somebody dressed their 1-year-old up as a clown, I can only say it was the 1970s. But why? Why do I love the circus? It's easy to think that circus is an old-timey thing, something that may not be relevant anymore. But to me, not only is it as important as ever, it's the perfect way to look at life and culture and entertainment and what we humans all like to explore about ourselves. And put another way, yes, this is my circus, and these are my horse-riding monkeys. I love the circus because it's a space of possibility. In here, the absurd is possible and wonderful. Anything can happen, and you get to put aside your obligations and your expectations for a day. And in the golden age of circus, a show coming to town would shut down schools and businesses, and the big top would seat thousands and thousands of people. And if you saw that, you knew magic might happen. Circus asks the question, why not? Would your life be improved by seeing live performing geese and a musical donkey? How could it not? The historic circus pioneered advertising and media. Because shows went all over the nation and competed for everybody's pocket money, they sent entire promotional crews on the new Transcontinental Railroad, and they plastered up thousands of these beautiful posters. Circus made the mass media age and advertised itself in riotous color. Circus also helps us question popular ideas about what people can or should be able to do, especially in a gendered way. For women in particular, the circus was a space where they could be independent, make money, travel, and show off some uncommon talents, as you see here, all with a social permission slip. Circus also helps us confront our biases. Because it's meant to entertain the vast majority, circus helps show where the cultural center is at any given time. And too often, the historical circus used global peoples to prop up a very white colonialist worldview. These shows and ethnographic displays illuminate a history of racism that we still need to address. Circus challenges gender norms and opens a queer space. This is the aerialist Vander Clyde in drag as Barbette, who was wildly famous in the 1920s for her trapeze act. After retirement, she trained acrobats for the Ringling Brothers show and was hired to help Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis nail their drag performances in Some Like It Hot. Circuses are early adopters of technology. If something new comes out, you see if you can make that loop the loop. Circuses were among the first to show off roller skates, bicycles, cars, and motorbikes. And this is Mauricia de Tiers, who in the early 1900s flew over a 45-foot gap in a car. Can you trust what you see? The circus has long asked viewers to enter into an uncertain space where the impossible becomes possible, and you very well might be tricked or misled by a performance. From P.T. Barnum's famous humbugs to the unlikely beings of the sideshow, circus asks us to consider our relationship with the truth. Circus also defies elemental forces and transcends human limits. Under the big top, the human body achieves amazing things, making us all feel a little bit more remarkable. What's more affirming than seeing evidence that we might be able to defy gravity? In a world that constantly reminds us of rules to follow and schedules to keep and career paths, It's a breath of fresh air to sit with some popcorn and some pink lemonade and realize sometimes the best reason to do something is simply because you can. Historically, the circus was very important in bringing the world to people who couldn't travel. And since everyone loves animals, menageries were thrilling and popular. Circuses have also been a force in animal rights, though, and more recently they've arrived at the question, do shows need animals at all to be spectacular? We all have a human body, and all human bodies are different in their own way. Circus helps us see that variable bodies exist, and it gives us a way to look at the history and the evolving state of disability. This shows us that for many performers with disabilities could use the circus to achieve economic independence and a community they couldn't find anywhere else. The circus also gave us clowns. I'm sorry about this. Once upon a time, clowns were kind of innocent comics, but modern pop culture has really kind of taken that for a left turn. Clowns are creepy. I'm very sorry. Circus innovates, even in tough circumstances. Circus music is extremely recognizable. I'm sure you can all hear March of the Gladiators in your head right now. It's so important. This is a picture of P.G. Lowry's well-known circus band. For a long time, black bands were relegated to the sideshow tent and kept out of the big top. No matter, they used the role to innovate with jazz and ragtime. Can you take a portable city and move it from one town to the other overnight by train and have the whole thing set up the next day at 6 a.m. with a tent slinging pancakes for breakfast? The circus can. Armies have studied its logistics and efficiency. Not lying, during World War I, flat cars would study this. Circus is part of your history, wherever in the world you live. This courier is from a show right here in town, kind of down in the area of where Yale New Haven is now, on May 4th, 1880. It featured a parade down Chapel Street, the human cannonball Zazelle, the equestrian Eliza Dockrell, trained animals, and yes, a monkey band. I hope maybe you love the circus a little bit more now, too. And there are large shows on the road and a lot of small ones doing wonderful, wonderful work, traveling all over. Check one out. Thank you.
Betsy, this is perfect. I'm short too. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to perform. I heart cross-stitch. Cross-stitch is a form of embroidery where we use thread to trace individual X's that become pixels of color. And when we put those pixels together, we get an image. Here are our supplies, our embroidery floss, our embroidery needles, and embroidery fabric that makes a grid of holes, so it's easy for your X's to be consistent. Traditionally, you can pull that fabric taut in a wooden hoop so that there's some resistance when you do this pattern with your needle. Look it up on YouTube later if the visuals don't work with still images. Making one diagonal and a next diagonal. When you pull it tight, you've got your X. My mom taught me how to cross stitch when I was about 8 years old. We used a pattern a lot like this one. I think it was supposed to be a frame. I never put anything in the frame. I just did the same frame over and over and changed the colors of the roses. But that was my introduction, and I really appreciated it. I ended up taking a break and coming back. Here's a pattern in the modern PDF format. Counted cross-stitch goes off of patterns to show us where to put those individual X's to create the whole. We organize the thread by numbers and colors and organize the spots on the pattern, also with numbers or letters or symbols so that we know where we're going. When I went on this Memorial Day trip pictured here, my friend Kaylee was cross-stitching, and I said, oh, maybe I'll pick that back up. And I started with Pokemon because I like Pokemon, and also 8-bit video games are already pixels, so it fits really well with cross-stitch, which is a bunch of pixels. Once I did my first Bulbasaur, I clearly couldn't stop. One of my favorite things to look at is the back because, frankly, it looks kind of haunted. I think the eyes are pretty terrifying. And that's where you get all the knots and loose thread that's sort of the back of the pleasant front that everyone sees. Here we have a GIF of a Charmander. This is our final Pokemon for today. I made this one while I was in coding boot camp. It was for my cohort mate, Emily. Doing the stitching really helped me focus. You'll see people knitting in lectures. Similar idea, that when my hands move, my brain can actually stay a little more focused on listening. In the close-up, you can see white on white. Those stitches will make the white in the background pop a little more. And also some close-ups of the floss, which is dyed so precisely that I frankly can't tell the difference between some of the colors sometimes. But it is remarkable how they come together into the patterns once they're actually together. This black cat, fun fact, actually navy blue. Also a cat that helped me develop my patience. I was teaching online, and sometimes my students would get their materials together gradually. So I would sit there, and I would stitch, and then we'd arrive together in a good place. You can make a pattern out of basically anything and find them online these days. I made some teeth for my friend Annie, who loves teeth. You can buy patterns on Etsy, you can find them for free online, and you can even generate your own, turning a photo or a memory into a pattern that you can then turn into a cross stitch. I made this whale. It originally said, "This blows," which, while funny, I decided to go a little more positive, but I liked this whale as a representation of how we're getting a little snarky with our folk crafts these days, throwing in some swear words, throwing in some unexpected twists, and I really like that combination of humor and folk craftiness. On the right here, you can see Paris the cat in an action shot. On the left, you can see my interpretation of Paris the cat. This was a tricky one for me because the triangles have a slightly different stitch pattern than our regular squares. And I did that Paris pattern somewhat at this retreat center. I was at a wonderful retreat for music organizations working in the nonprofit space. And as I went back through all of these different pieces, it transported me to where I was when I made it and who I made it for. So I really enjoyed dipping through this record of my life in cross stitch. This snitch is in a cool watercolor style. Thank you to another Etsy artist. And backstitch is how I create those lines. That's a different stitch that makes lines instead of X's. And when you put the outlines in, it makes everything pop, and it's incredibly satisfying. Second to last piece, this is one that I put together from a few different patterns. I needed some big letters, I needed some small letters, I needed a frame. I actually put letters in the frame this time. And so I enjoy the creative process of putting together other patterns into a final product. And this is an adage in my home, never stop making villagers, because if you're playing the Age of Empires 2 video game, you need villagers to support your economy to take over the world. It's for my boyfriend Sam, who's right over there. This is a very important thing in our household. I made this one while listening to D&D podcasts and hiding out in my air-conditioned room one summer. Our final pattern of the day is this human heart pattern that is the most elaborate one I've ever done and for now will ever do. I was really intrigued by the biological realism of it. This person who made the pattern came up with 4 different ways to represent it. I think because it's so complex that you can pick which one is the least worst for your brain to try to stay organized among the different shades of gray. And depending on whether it's 14 count, 16 count, or 18 count, meaning how many stitches fit in an inch, you'll get an end result that's a little bigger or a little smaller. Some challenges when you're stitching something like this are just keeping the grays straight. They look so similar. And then if you have a cat, you're gonna end up stitching cat hair into it, and then you have to go through and pull it out. I also learned after this one that you can wash it afterwards with dish soap, and that will flatten it out really nicely. This is my final piece, a quarter for scale. I'm very proud of it, but whether you do something like this or something like my initial sampler, I think it's a pretty low barrier to entry craft to get into, and I hope somebody gives it a try, because I heart cross stitch and I think you will too.
Ooh, hi. It's a bright light. Hi, everybody. I'm Angela. I'm from Philadelphia, but I've been living in New Haven for almost 9 years. This is me at 10 years old. And tonight, I'm going to talk about something I've been doing since I was a kid, something that was handed down to me from my mother's side of the family, like a meatball recipe, something that we used to do for fun and connection that has ended up being something in my life that has made me feel okay when things are so hard. Here is my dancing family, as you can see. So we all know this. When you're a kid and something hard happens, you don't think, you just move. You yell, you stomp, you flop on the floor. But as we get older and we become teenagers, we stop doing that. We start pushing our feelings down. We start not sharing. And there are lots of feelings that we have. Maybe we just share the good feelings that are here represented in pink. But the hard feelings, our grief, our anger, our rage, here in blue, we stuff down. Or sometimes we end up letting out in a way that we regret at another time, right? But, you know, we have feelings, right? Everybody has these feelings. Things are hard in the world. We know this. Things are messed up. And life is beautiful, of course, but it's also really hard. And when we hold our feelings in, they get stuck. They make us sick. They become unprocessed. And the thing is that is not good for any of us. And I get it, like, you actually don't want to feel your feelings, even though you know it's good for you, because you can fear that you just fall into a black hole, right? Like, who actually wants to feel their hard feelings? Okay, great. Okay, we got a few. So 6 years ago, I took a class with a woman named Mama Gina, and she taught me that we actually have something inside of us that allows us to alchemize hard feelings. And what I mean by alchemize is I mean to change the nature of something in a seemingly magical process. And that is through a process that is called swamping. And this is my invitation to you to come into the swamp. It's the invitation to go into what's hard, to actually go into the murky messiness of life, to feel, to move that through your body. It's a practice that has transformed my life. It's something I do on my own. I also lead other people through. There's 3 components in swamping. Number 1, you move your body, you let the emotion out. Number 2, you're witnessed by other people. Here, there's a group being witnessed to see you're not weird to feel. We all have these feelings. And number 3 is the alchemizing factor. The thing that helps us move. It's our life force energy, our erotic energy, our sexy energy, which can actually be a helpful tool in feeling our feelings and also bringing us back to what actually feels good in our body. So the way that this works is you put on music that lets you be angry, where you can stomp and scream and writhe, and music that lets you feel your grief, where you can roll around and cry or do what you want, and then music that makes you feel good in your body. And this process can be done big, and it can also be done small. So I'm going to actually ask you to indulge me and do this with me. But don't worry, this is PechaKucha, so we're only going to do it. You're going to do 3 feelings for 20 seconds each. So what you're going to do is I want to invite you, if you will, to take your hands, and we're going to just swamp through our hands. So here, we're going to start with anger. This is a picture of me letting anger pour out of me. And what you're going to do is you're going to let anger pour out of your hands, okay? And look, if you're uncomfortable, you can close your eyes. It's fine. Do it. It's fine. This will go quickly. So when the next slide comes up, you're going to move your hands. So here we go. How would your hands express anger? And then what if you poured some sexiness into your anger? What would that feel like? Maybe you feel it, maybe you don't. That's okay. So did that feel weird and uncomfortable? Okay, good. Then you're doing the right thing. Because that's the thing. This is uncomfortable. I do this all the time. I literally never feel like doing it. So we're just going to do it for another 40 seconds, okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do grief. So I invite you to take your hands and start feeling grief through your hands. What would a grieving hand feel like? And what about a grieving hand that also was sexy? Beautiful, you're doing it. So now you get to just feel what feels good. What would it be if your hands were the sexiest things here? Let your hands move or feel good. It doesn't need to be sexy, but just let your hands move. Oh my gosh, this is amazing from up here. I love it. You did it. Congratulations. It's over. Yes, you did it. Thank you. Thank you for taking just a little taste. Thank you for not getting up and walking away, for those of you who were so uncomfortable. So this practice is something that I said has transformed my life. Getting to express my feelings, getting to be witnessed. Here is a picture of me and my friend Tama leading a group of people through this process of swamping and allowing us to come back into what feels good. So from a kid, a dancing kid from a dancing family, I want to thank you for indulging me and coming on this process with me, and invite you to be in touch if you want and to do this with me sometime. Thank you.
Hello. I have always been a seeker. In my early years, I suffered quite a lot. I should have done swamping. But I was trying to figure out what my life was all about and why I was here. I started thinking about when I was a boy and I wanted to learn tennis, I would learn with a teacher. If I learned a musical instrument, I got a teacher for music. So in the face of what I was struggling with, I thought maybe I should find a spiritual teacher. So in 1991, when I was in Cambridge, I was working there, I met a man named George Bowman, who was a Zen teacher. He was one of the most ordinary and straightforward people I had met. I felt very safe with him, but also he had practiced and meditated for years and years. And he came through a lineage tradition. His teacher had come from Korea, through a whole series of other teachers in Korea. Before that in China, and before that in India, all the way back to the original Buddha. 2,600 years, he was the 79th in a sequence, direct sequence of teachers to students. So I figured maybe there's something here I could learn from. So I started meditating. I spent time meditating each day. I would go to a weekly sitting group. I sat on weekends, a week-long retreat. I read books, some of them from thousands of years ago, some of them written more recently. But with all of that, hoping something was going to happen, I kept facing the pain in my life. I would stub my toe, someone would get angry at me, a client would be really disappointed, I'd feel like shit sometimes. And I wondered, is this really getting me anywhere? Is this going anywhere? But then once in a while when I was meditating, all of a sudden a bird sound would cut through, and boom, I was in the present moment. Just there. And I started realizing that this sense of being in the present I could also see what's happening in my daily life. So when I was cutting the carrots for a meal, or when I was talking to a friend, or taking a walk outside, I started noticing that that sense of this present moment was a little more available. I realized that the sense of beauty was also all around me. Say an early morning walk, I might have just gone out for a little exercise, and there it was, the sunrise coming up behind a tree. And that sense of incredibleness of being alive and being in the midst of it all started to become more present. Through all of this, I started to get a sense that the issue I was facing was not how do I get my life to feel better, but it was the my and the I and the me that I was referencing around. So looking back, sort of backwards at that, I started realizing there's a central issue that is causing all this struggle. And as I spent time paying attention to the present moment, I realized I'm constantly changing. I might be different in the morning and at noon and night, and I wasn't actually a thing, I was a process. I was arising in this kind of proximity of a person. I also realized that we're all in this together. We all are walking a path of trying to figure out what our life is about. Why do I suffer? How am I going to deal with this? So I felt not so alone. It's like this is a kind of a human condition I'm in the midst of. It turned out I could start to inhabit my own shoes a little better. I could give a sense of myself, who I was. I wasn't somebody great. I wasn't some super fuck up. I was just this person arising in this particular way. And with increased honesty and presence in my life, I also started noticing that I regularly caused problems for people. I would say something unkind. I would be thoughtless and forget things. I wasn't the good guy I was desperately trying to make myself into. I was just this guy, sometimes doing well, sometimes doing poorly, sometimes struggling. And I became familiar with the 8 consciousnesses in Buddhism, with those that are associated with the senses and the body and the mind. But this 7th consciousness, this sense of I am this separate being and I have to make everything work out for myself, was causing a great deal of problem. So I kept meditating. I kept going into that present moment, opening, being still. It was kind of curious. My wife, who's sitting right over there, started telling me I was easier to get along with. I didn't feel like I was doing anything, but we had some wonderful trips together. The sense of sharing and appreciation grew and was more available to both of us. And I felt like, oh, something actually is shifting in my life. I also had this ability increasingly to hear other people and what they hoped from me, to understand how I might be causing them an issue and what I could do in order to shift my relationship with them, because I wasn't trying to defend my own image of myself so securely. So in this way, I really haven't changed. There's not really anything different deep inside. It's the same road, it's the same mountains in the distance, but somehow it's different. Things are clearer, more open. I can make better decisions. So I wanted to thank you all. I was looking around earlier and just connecting and seeing who is here. And it's a great treat for me to be able to share this with you, something that's been an important process for me and something that has taught me a lot in life. So thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. How are you tonight? Such a beautiful evening. I'm here to ask you, is there anyone here who holds some dream in your heart, something you want to experience, but you haven't been able to experience it yet in your life? Anyone? Well, I'm here to tell you that your dreams can still come true. And before I leave this stage, I'm going to give you 3 things you can do right now to get into alignment with that. This little house is not just a little cartoon house. This actually is my dream come true. Christina's Cottage, a musical series to support the health and well-being of preschoolers and their families. So I'm going to share with you how I got there, how I created that dream. It started in 2006. I had moved from Greenwich, Connecticut, full-time massage therapist, to Brooklyn, and to pursue a dream to sing on Broadway. And I'm sitting there, and my roommate at the time shows me this, plays this song for me, and it's called Listen to My Heart. And it changed my life forever, sung by Nancy Lamott. Here we are, you and I at last, in the right place at the right time. Every dream I've dreamed has come to pass, 'cause you're right here and you're all mine. I can't believe the years of holding back are through, and I can finally share what's in my heart with you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart, listen to it sing, listen to my voice, it wants to tell you everything. There's so much to say, I don't know where to start, but if you want to know the love I'm feeling, listen to my heart. David Friedman, this amazing, thank you, Disney Broadway composer. And I went, I need to meet this man. He needs to hear me sing this song, and he's gonna make me famous. So that was my new thing. I was dedicated, committed to meeting this man. Spent, a good few months there and completely fell apart, broke. Anyone who's lived in New York City as a 20-something-year-old, yes. So I had to move back to Greenwich, Connecticut and focus on my massage therapy practice. Something that I actually really love to do as well. I love to nurture people. I focus a lot on young families and parents who are wicked stressed out. And I just couldn't imagine what they were doing to their kids. They really rely on us. So, of course, I got depressed myself because I wasn't singing. And I'm on the phone with my mom one day, and she says, Christina, why don't you go to that spiritual center you heard about in Norwalk? You really need to connect with some like-minded people. So I listened. My mom's usually right. And there I go. One Sunday I walk up the steps to the McMahon Ford dealership in Norwalk and go to Unity Center of Norwalk, and I'm sitting there, and 4 rows in front of me, David Friedman. Here I am all those months before, busting my butt in New York City, broke, and he's right in my backyard. So since then, David and I have become fast friends, family friends, and we spend holidays together, and we've recorded incredible things together in service for kids, and just it brings me so much joy. And not only did he hear me sing Listen to My Heart, but he actually played for me singing Listen to My Heart to a standing ovation in a ginormous auditorium. So he not only did hear me, but it was just beyond my wildest dreams. And so David actually and I, he's the composer of all the music to Christina's Cottage. And we've found a shared passion to help people and help nurture the inner child of not only adults, but children. And in our world today, as we know, it's so hard and fast-paced. And to find this commonality between us and to find this incredible thing to do is just giving me so much joy. So let me introduce you to a few of the characters at the cottage. So first we have Buddy. And Buddy actually happens to be our family pet. And he lives in Florida currently with my mom. And Buddy is just such the joy of my life. Anytime I think of Buddy, and my heart just explodes. So he had to be a part of it somehow. And then also, we also have a series of love bugs. There's 7 of them. And anyone who does yoga or anything, these love bugs represent the chakras. So we have Rudy, Joy, Valor, Amora, Chatty, Sage, and Spark. And they are here to help us all, children and adults alike, regulate our emotions. Because as we know, that's really hard, especially in this time of just extremes. It's scary. So we really need to take time and nurture that. And so here are the 3 things. Every day, take time to just listen to your heart. Listen to the quiet space, this wise aspect, timeless peace within us that has all of the answers and has the answer to just our dreams. But we just have to take the time to listen to it. Quiet down the noise. The second thing, David's song, Gift of Trouble. Trust that your dream is on its way, and trust that everything that's coming to you is guiding you to your highest dream, and it's going to help you clear out anything that is no longer serving you, whether it's people, things you're doing, beliefs that's getting in the way of you creating something that you want to dream. We have to get rid of that. It's not about creating something. It's about, releasing what's no longer serving. And I believe that our biggest dream is our highest in life purpose. And I believe it's also found at the intersection between what you love to do and what the world needs. So I'm asking you today, what does the world need and what do you have to give and to share? What do you love to do? And that is it. So listen to your heart. And I just want to end with, of course, Mr. Rogers' famous word. There are 3 ways to ultimate success. The first way is to be kind. Second way is to be kind. And the third way is to be kind. So thank you for letting me share. I do believe that your dreams can come true. And check out Christina's Cottage if you or yourself are needing a little love and support. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tessa. I'm 62 and I want to grow up to be a play activist. So I hope you'll join me today. This was amazing. But play is an incredible thing. So I'm really, if you are playful, raise your hand for me, would you? Playful people out there. I've been teaching mindfulness, movement, and play for many years, and we really need to do this. The more you play, the better you feel. So I want to ask my friend Esther to come up to start us off with some laughter, because you got to get yourself moving like we were talking about today to get your body laughing. And sometimes it doesn't have to be funny. So we're going to I'm going to ask you to let go of your self-consciousness and just 20 seconds, again, like Angela said, for you to laugh with us. And it's only going to be starting with your face. Start with and your throat. Ha, 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 ha. And your chest. Ha, 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 ha. And a big one. And notice how the laughter makes you feel. You shift your perspective right away, because that's how we connect to ourselves more, by letting go of all the stuff that's getting in our way. So I'm going to ask you right now to look around the tent and make a connection with someone that you don't know. Smile for a moment, make a funny face. Try to find your playful side, because that's what we all need so much more of. And we're too serious, and we need to all find people to play it forward, because the benefits of play is that it reduces stress and enhances our well-being, and we expand our play muscle. So whether it's at school or at work or anywhere you are, identify those people, even if they're not the same style of play as you. I tend to play with all kinds of movement things, but you may play sports. You may want to be funny. Whatever you can do to kind of connect and innovate. There's no right or wrong way to play. When we were kids, we did it for the silliness of it. And even if life is stressful and you're in despair, you can add a new spice to your recipe. You can put on music at home and laugh and move. You can bake something crazy. You could take a new route to work. You could think about how to make up words for something silly. So Dr. Stuart Brown, who we'll learn about in a moment, is somebody who's taught how play is purposeless, all-consuming, and restorative. He's done research on play for many years. And he says that it's one of the most significant factors in determining our happiness and success. So we're going to go through his 8 play personalities, and I want you to think about yourself. Which of these play personalities are you? And identify, are you the joker? Are you the kinesthetic that likes to move, like Angela was talking? If you don't, do more of that anyway. The explorer, you're the scientists and the engineers, that you were always exploring things. The competitors are really into sports and games, and you play to win. And then there's the director, who executes and plans scenes and events, and the collector, who collects anything that you love, shells, stamps, you get the idea. There's the artist, the creator, who you are the ones who inspire our spirits and our senses. And the storytellers, you use your imagination to expand our narrative. So these are my morning practices that I do in the morning. They're kind of my play dates with people. And I want you to give attention to your own form of play. Consider, what is it that makes you happy when you were a child, or what you've expanded into. And I look for others for play dates. So when we were, as parents, our kids, we set up play dates. Why aren't we setting up play dates for ourselves? So invite a friend and bring back the play date. Find someone, that you haven't seen for a while, or even connect with someone new, which you get extra bonus for yourselves, because it creates a new relationship energy, a new way to see yourselves. And when you set that intention, even with your own partner, sex can be playful too, just intentionally being more playful. So, the busy life and all the despair and stress can get to us. So the way to calm ourselves down, one of my things I do is I hum. So will you join me in humming? Hold your heart, close your eyes. So humming is kind of a vibration on the inside. And also singing is, and laughter. So when we're stuck and life is stressful, this gives us perspective. It gives us that distance that we need to be able to handle the hard things and to accept what is. And we all need more of that in our lives. Surprise yourselves by trying something new and releasing kind of that dopamine. So I'm going to ask you, when we hear music, we dance, right? Can you just shake and hum with me? Awesome. As you're feeling more playful, we become kinder to others. And a lot of people have experienced life differently. So the way to be kinder and feel better about ourselves, we look at our hearts and soften them and connect with someone new. And today I'm going to actually give you that opportunity. I actually purchased these gift certificates for a game I'm about to do. And you're going to challenge yourself to meet someone you don't know. So how many playful people out there, again? And how many healers and how many artists or social entrepreneurs or people that want to connect? So I'm always looking to create more community events around play and embodiment. So please come say hi to me at the break if you're interested. And I'm going to invite you to play this bingo game. I'm going to ask my friends out there to raise their hands. I'm distributing bingo cards. There are from people here that have bingo cards. And you're going to fill in something, and you're going to meet someone new today. And the idea is to encourage this playful connection in a game. And I have certificates to these 2 local places. If you stay till the end of the event at 8 o'clock, I'm going to do a drawing. So I just want to tell you that as I get older, I feel like I live with this idea of curiosity, compassion, and courage. And those are the 3 things to keep in mind when you want to be more playful, or in any of these beautiful things that these embodied people have discussed today. And I consider myself and want to be more of a play activist. So let's stop taking ourselves so seriously. Get in touch with me. Your smile will open someone's heart, and your laugh will help someone else laugh, and your play will brighten someone's day. So play it forward. So nice to see you here. Thank you.
How y'all doing? I'm Shamant, Influence Little, and I think we're gonna start. I have always held you close to me. People have had the idea that poetry was my first savior. That's always been poetry or die, not realizing you have been the bookends that hold me up. The positive to my negative, your smile and your presence is the only thing keeping my heart beating. It was never poetry or die, but always love you and live. So I put down the pushing of poison and picked up the skill of nursing, suturing to you every aspect of art I could. So when you start stroking them keys, I made sure my heart was open just to listen to you. The music you made was as brilliant as the shine of your skin. You see, I may have his features, but I'm not God. I own no heaven or hell to put anyone in. I only have a strong back, but I have no issue with carrying you through the times get rough. So when you only see my footprints beneath you, I only ask that you fully pay attention to the lessons that I'm carrying you through. Because there's nothing anyone can tell me. You have my features, but I see your future to be so much brighter than mine. There is no holiday or majestic season that can explain the hallelujah I feel for you. My goal is to show you how to keep your beautiful skin intact and never care anything about the opinions of others, because it's always been us. Silly, crazy, and cool, Samaria, Shamat, Sharnaya, I named you close to me on purpose. I will be your pillar, post up on me, because your birth is what saved me from the corner I was posted on. Trust me, being your father is the most stylish thing I have ever done. So understand that my life has always been dedicated to making you look, feel, and move as the princess you are. Giving you the hood and book education so you know how to motivate in these streets, because being a black woman at minimum, your life is a two-way intersection and you need to know how to move on both ends. Graduating to the next level is just recognizing your opportunity, so I will always be there, on and off the court, but learn how to cheer yourself every day. The greatest motivation comes from within. Like the men of the Amistad, you are no one's slave. I want you to move like a wolf, complex, highly educated, and playful, with a strong dedication to the family pack, because no matter what you do, we will always support you. See, I tried to prepare myself. I always envision you becoming a young woman holding all that beauty. It truly scares me. No matter how big the house, no matter how many things I brought you, the world still had to meet you. So the later your curfew, the later my bedtime. All I can say is please be careful and remember what Daddy taught you. Don't let anyone take your smile from you. I know your mindset and style has changed, but your old man is always gonna point the way for you, even if you feel you don't need it. Just give me grace, laugh it off, and do what you can do. Say, hey, Dad, I heard you, I got you, I see you, as I pray that you always keep the drive you have. Your graduation will not be the high or the end of your life. It's just the beginning. When life feels like a punishment and you can't see me in person, I'm a phone call away, and my voice can be the hug and kiss you need. Don't forget, you are never too far. Home is always, always within reach. Even when you're in your diva mode, remember, your makeup does not make up the sum of you. One of my proudest moments was hearing you say, Daddy, I feel beautiful. My heart melted with joy, hidden by hope that you feel that way every day, because beauty comes from within, and baby, you are nothing less than a diamond, so shine. I love you because you dare to be different. Tattoos, piercings, gems in your teeth, keep going. Don't follow the norm, keep stepping outside the box. 16 CNA, 18 phlebotomist. Sometimes it hurts to be different because the world isn't ready for your heart. So what? Keep going. You have the glow of an African queen in your blood, the dance of indigenous in your feet. Dance, baby. Dance until you dance your dreams to reality, until your reality can nurture you. Dance, baby. Dance, dance, dance your way into happiness like nobody is looking. Be free, unapologetically free, because nothing else matters. Gold and frilly things aren't happiness. Keep your jubilant spirit. Sometimes people need to laugh. Continue to make people laugh before you make them cry. A good heart is measured by how many others you touch, and you have touched so many. You have cared for so many, but I want you to continue to care for each other. As different as you are, you're stronger together than you are apart. My superheroes, I marvel at the women you have become. I couldn't written a better human to change my life. I don't think you understand how much I thank you. God gave both parts of me within you, and I got the message. He didn't come from a bottle floating in the ocean. It came from two godly vessels. No cracking of the sky, no feathers, no wings, just smiles and love and peace signs and giggles. No matter how high the water gets, family is always our lifeguard, our safety net, our love boat. So I just ask you to hold on, because you've provided me the rites of passage just to be your father. And one day when I get weary, barely able to move, I hope you still hold on. Life isn't perfect, but we need to hold on, because sometimes daddy needs your strength just to keep going. So hold on. And I promise, baby, I promise to continue to give you the goals to reach. Show you how to celebrate your successes. Step into the world with your head held high with pride. Leave your fears and your pain in the shadows. Focus on keeping that smile you woke up with on your face. And please, for daddy, wear jeans just as much as you wear those little black dresses. Because sometimes you're going to have to stand up for what you believe in, even when it's against me. But understand, I will always have your back. Our connection, our bond is great. We are always going to enjoy life. It's too short not to love it to the fullest. So style and celebrate and master the lanes we are in, because you are destined for greatness. Even when I'm gone, you are sitting alone and no longer able to feel my hugs and kisses. I need you to remember who you are. Let no one question your existence. You are my daughters, silly, crazy, and cool African queens with indigenous feet, and to dance into your purpose. So dance, baby. Dance on. Be free. And remember that daddy loves you.
Bravísimo, bravísimo. Aplauso, aplauso. Más para el señor. Thank you, muchas gracias. Next slide, please. Thank you. Next. Josue Brenner, Rhapsody on a Random Tuesday in Blue. G-rated. Okay, so I started a mental health series, and it's called, I gotta read it, Rhapsody on a Random Tuesday in Blue, G-rated. It's starring SAG actress, this is a little bit low, let me try to take it up, I don't know if that works. Deb Gaffney as NYU acting professor, it's New York, Nueva York. So Professor Oni, she sends her students out into the calles de Nueva York, the streets of the beautiful slides, no? Very nice. Thank you for the Google Pixel Pro phone camera. Yes. Okay, perfecto. I want to get it. Oh, there we go. It's a little bit too high. So anyway, we have the students go out and have like a mental health day, Ferris Bueller's Day Off style, but not Chicago and Nueva York. And they go out and they observe and they see the beauty of the artistas. And we have a beautiful at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's free if you just tell them you're a student from somewhere and you'd like to pay 50 cents. They let you in. It's free. It's totally gratis, you know. Now, a couple of the characters. Here are the first two scene partners. Jerry Todisco, he had a little bit difficulty with security when we got to the Met. But his scene partner, Tani Jade, she got in no problems. And they go out. They do yoga. She's a martial artist. We went to Soho. We were on the subway. It was, what is it? What? What'd you say? Oh, buenas tardes, yes. So we went out, we went all over the city, and we saw the colores bellísimos, increíbles, the beauty of Nueva York. So if you didn't hear it, my name is Josue Brenner, and I created this series. I spent all last, invierno. Okay, so these are the next two scene partners. We have Erica Monique Williams. She is a social influencer and artist and a musician, and her friend Kat.
And we went to all over Midtown Manhattan, and the cat is Cat because she can't have a character. She's such an amazing human being. Then we went to the reservoir, yes, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir. I went by myself a few days just to take the scenery pictures. Joe, I hope you like the photography. Google Pixel Pro 7A, thank you very much. And the beauty. So we went around the city, and a wonderful thing happened. I found this guy, Christian Santiago. We went to Ghostbusters. Anybody went to Ghostbusters when there's something strange? And his screen partner is Carrie's Virgo, and they went through downtown. We found graffiti, and Christian Santiago is a very famous, almost famous, suddenly famous. That was the movie. And then we went to the Guggenheim, and we saw this lady with a feather diamond in her eye, which sounds like the Paul Simon song, Diamonds on the Soles of Her Eyes, no, the shoes of the eyes and the zapatos, yes. Thank you. Muy bien. The non-millennials are getting a little confused. And then there was this great actor. His name is Josué Brenner, and he portrayed Señor Alejandro Gabriel García Márquez, Jorge Luis Borges, Ana María Matute de Alicante. The Big Apple from where I am coming. Yes, applause. Let's hear it. We're almost halfway through. Thank you. That's 93rd and Madison, not too shabby, if you know what I mean. And then look what's happening on Hollywood now. We have Wonka, Timothy Chalamet. My wife said it's not Chardonnay, it's Chalamet. What is with the mouse thing? Anybody knows? And then we have sequels, prequels, remakes. So I'm trying to do something original which touches the button of healthy mental health for teenagers. And luckily, we didn't get arrested, and FDNY was not called for our film program. And we shot beautiful observational photographs all over the city of Manhattan. And it was inspired by the film, what was it called? Manhattan, the film Manhattan. And at the beginning of 1924, George Gershwin, Rhapsody in a Random Tuesday, this guy got a ticket. He's driving a Benz, we call it Benz. Robin Williams said, believe in the power of comedy to heal. And I got a good shot of this guy. At that moment, something quite spectacular happened. And you'll see this in the next slide. It's something incredible. It's something amazing. What is that noise over there? It's something, we saw the lady. Look at the lady with the jacket. Now that you can't get anywhere else. And we got the guy on wearing the Yankees jersey on a bike in Midtown, in action, and these two guys going the opposite directions. One wearing azul, the other one some sort of a rojo, but he's got the cool shoes. My son, he said, don't go with the hocus tonight. He said, just wear your regular shoes. We have the subway, the lady, I think she has three telephones at once. I don't know, and the police officer is going that way. It's impresionante, it's fascinante. So I did this also. Okay, you're right. I was writing my doctoral dissertation all winter as well on the help-seeking behavior of teenagers. And then we saw, look at this. We found the people, they're making a movie in the streets. And this is very meta cognition, meta cinematography. I took a picture of the guy taking a picture who's taking a camera of the picture of the guy taking a picture of the camera, which is, it's a hyperbolic paraboloids in terms of cinematography. Spent a little time at the Current Institute of Mathematics, which we love. Again, FDNY was not called during the filming of this Rhapsody in a Random Tuesday in Blue G Rated. That is correct. One thing you don't want to do if you're auditioning for the actor's studio when you get into the Paul Newman library is take a big breath. I took a deep breath. I was doing 6 degrees of separation. And then when I got on stage, Tani, my scene partner, who did the same with the Rhapsody, she's a martial artist, the breath took it out. Then we had Rhapsody Hall. Now look at this guy's scarf. This scarf is bursting with verde colors. And then, of course, we love, nos encanta Nueva York, Alberto Einstein. And, of course, the most important thing, Oppenheimer is now free on Amazon Prime Video, which I've been waiting for. That's like 7 Oscars, which I couldn't afford to go to the movie. We ended up at the Met. Yes, high contrast, beautiful. People looking at things that look like people and looking back at the camera, looking metaphorical, metaphora, my favorite word. And if you're interested in anything more about the Rhapsody on a Random Tuesday in Blue, call me on email. You can't call someone on email. Probably could with the Google Pixel Pro. jbrenner22@gmail.com. And yes, the picture was AI in Stop and Shop somewhere in Wallingford. Thank you very much. Adios, buenas noches.
Hi, everyone. My name's Adam Weisblatt, and I'm a philosopher and a cartoonist, which is a surprisingly helpful combination when you ask yourself weird questions like this. Are learning and creativity the same thing? So I'm a corporate trainer, and I was in this big monster corporation teaching a course about creativity. And I was sitting there, and suddenly I said to myself, what am I trying to do here? I mean, these people, for their entire career, have been told, just do what your boss says. Now, suddenly, they're paying me to teach them how to be creative. But is that even possible? Can you teach someone how to be creative? I mean, I personally am compulsively creative. I would not know what it's like to not be creative. So how can I teach people to do that? Then, on the other hand, there's learning. And, I'm a corporate trainer. You would think that I have all these ideas about, what it is to teach people, but can you really make people learn? I mean, people learn inside their heads. You can't get inside their heads, so they're going to learn if they want to. So what am I doing? Am I just creating the environment for them to learn, or the resources, or the circumstances, and what are those? So what is learning? What is creating? What are these two things? And are they really connected? They seem so different sometimes, and yet I think there's connections. So let's start by examining learning itself. And what I want all of you to do is to think of what it was like to be in school. And when we were in school, the school that was invented in the Industrial Revolution made schools like factories. The idea was that the students were these big empty vessels, and we were supposed to pour information into their heads. And yes, since then, people have been talking about more progressive ways to learn, but corporate training actually still works that way. I learn completely differently. I play with ideas. I play with ideas until they break. And then when I put them back together, I come up with new ideas. And those new ideas give me a way of understanding new things. That's just how I do it. Now, maybe it's because I'm an artist, a cartoonist, and I usually take cartoons, which are basically just a collection of symbols that people understand to have certain meanings, and I pull them apart, and I reassemble them in different new weird ways so that I can have new cartoons that express new ideas and emotions. That's just how I do it. So maybe I'm just weird, right? Maybe I just think differently than everyone else. But is that really true? Is it really that different? Because people understand the world based on who they are at that moment. I've been doing a lot of reading about neuroscience, and this kind of bears it out. The idea is that you understand things based on constructions that you've made in your head from old ideas. Your view of the world is very, very limited. Your eyes give you only a little bit of information. You have to fill in the blanks with constructs, frameworks of thinking that are based on what you've already experienced. Now, what we do is we take these constructs of thinking and we wrap them up in stories. Stories are the way that we give these things context. Have you ever had someone try to explain something to you and they're not giving you any context, no story, just throwing information at you, and you just kind of blank out and stop listening to them? That's what happens. I have a friend who used to say, I need to have a hook to hang it on. What they meant was that there has to be something that is in the information that they can absorb, and usually that's a story. The story provides the hook. No story, no hook, no remembering, no learning. So this made me think, can you come up with new ideas? If everything's based on stories and your old ideas, can you come up with new ideas, learn new things? And to do that, maybe you need to be at peace with your contradictions, like a platypus, and come up with ways to rewrite those stories. Now, artists do it backwards. They start off with the construct, the weird creation that no one's ever seen before, creating things in new ways. And then from that, they extrapolate all these new understandings, new ways to look at the world. So that's how creativity works. And what I want you to think of is think of the last time you really learned something, not in a class, but one of those moments when you went, aha. Was it something where you had kind of pulled apart the idea and put it back together, and suddenly you could understand something that you couldn't understand before? The point that I'm trying to make is that we create our understanding. We use our creativity to create new ways of looking at the world, and that makes things happen in our minds and lets us see the world in new ways. I'm new. I'm still trying to figure out how to do this timing thing. Sorry. What I want everyone to do tonight when you go home, before you go to bed, is I want you to take a pencil and doodle on the back of an envelope. Just make a bunch of random lines. And then what I want you to do is kind of find a face in that doodle. It'll happen. It always happens. That's what humans do. Just give it some time. And what I want you to do when you find that face is really hone in on that feeling. There's this magical feeling when something that wasn't there suddenly becomes there. There was artist Glenn Keane who created The Beauty and the Beast, and he said that the Beast looked at him through the drawings he was making. You can get that magical feeling, and it happens to be the same magical feeling that you get when you learn something new. That feeling of having something that you can see that you couldn't see before because now you understand something new. And the thing that I want you to take with you after this is to understand this magical feeling from both learning and creativity is a sacred thing. It's your birthright as a human being, and you need to cherish it. It can never be taken away from you. If you like my cartoons, you can follow me on Instagram. My user ID is weissblatt.a, and I'd like to thank everyone for going on this journey with me.
My parents were both born in England shortly after the turn of the last century. My mom was from London, where she spent a lot of her time with her uncle, who had the responsibility of tending for the horses at Buckingham Palace. My father was from Liverpool, which was a port city, where most of the men worked on the docks. As they grew older, my mother became extremely proficient in jiu-jitsu. She had a job training the London police in that task. My father, he did a few jobs trying to support his family, but joined the British Army at the beginning of World War II. After the war started, everybody in England needed to chip in. My mother took over the job of tending for the horses for the Queen's Guard. My father was deployed to North Africa, where he was a desert rat fighting Rommel. He was wounded 3 times. During the war, the Blitzkrieg hit both London and Liverpool extremely hard. The pictures that you see here are before and after pictures of the same areas within each town. London on the left, Liverpool on the right. Devastation was all around. After the war ended, my parents separately came to the US. Different voyages, different trips, but they both somehow wound up in Philadelphia, where they met at the British Foreign Legion. Okay. This is the last picture that we have of my extended family all together. My parents got together, they married, they had 3 wonderful children, one of which was the most wonderful. That would be me. Now, when my parents passed away, we arranged to scatter their ashes. My father was the first FIFA certified referee in North America, and the Liverpool Football Club allowed us to scatter his ashes on their pitch. My mother's ashes were scattered by the British Royal Navy on the River Thames. On that boat, my sister said something to me that was more of a statement versus a question. She said, "You do know that Mom was married before she met Dad." I had no idea. And how could they keep a secret from me like this for 54 years? Here's the bullet points. Mom married her first husband in 1943. He was shipped off to the war. Just a few days afterwards, his ship was sunk by a German U-boat. He never returned. This occurred at the Battle of Minsk. Now, a few years later, I was down visiting my sister, and we're having dinner. That's my sister Diane on the left-hand side, and my brother-in-law Pat. My sister said something to me about more information about Mom's first husband. My brother-in-law said my jaw dropped. She said, my mother's first husband's name was Clayton. My brother, Clayton, was named for him, and my father approved that, thinking it would be a fitting tribute for another veteran. And Clayton Witham was a lord, meaning that Mom was Lady Edna Witham. I was pissed at this point. Not only had they kept a secret from me for 54 years, it was actually 63 years. Now, another thought popped into my head. Am I somewhere in line for the British throne? Obviously not. Now, something more about me. Late in my life, I took to the art of storytelling. I've told true stories about my life on stage many times at the Moth. When I was driving home from my sister's that night, the thought that popped into my head was, this would be a great story for the Moth. You'll find out soon why it was even better than we thought. So I started mentally collecting all the information that I needed, all the anecdotal stuff that Diane had told me, trying to figure out how to take this information and structure it into a story. And then I determined I had more questions than answers at this point. So I decided to return back to my sister's house and do some fact checking. My sister is the self-appointed family historian, and her basement is full after box after box after box of papers, photos, newspaper clippings, all about our family. What I found was really, really eye-opening. This article appeared in the London newspaper in 1943. It's Mom's wedding announcement. It said, Edith Tranter, that was her name. Jiu-jitsu expert? Yeah, that's definitely Mom. But it's Mr. S.A.T. Witham. I'm confused at this point. If this guy is a lord, that's not what you need to do to address him. So I decided to go to the closest thing to a source, my brother Clayton. I called him up on speakerphone. Thank you. And asked him who was he named for. And Clay says, Mom's first husband. And I said, how did you find that out? He said, Diane told me. So I did some further investigation. His boat was sunk by a German U-boat, but it was not the Battle of Minsk because there are no seas in Minsk. And it was actually sunk 400 miles off the coast of Bermuda. So some of the truths that I learned, Clay was not named for Mom's first husband. His name was Soren. Soren was not involved in the Battle of Minsk. Soren did die when his ship was sunk by a U-boat, and he was not a lord. Now, as a result of all this, I'm working on a book that's called Fact Checking My Family. I believe that it may turn into a series. If anybody is interested in this book, please see my sister who's sitting over there, and she will tell you where not to get it. Thank you.
Luc Besson describes birth as violent. You go from darkness to light, from quiet to chaos, from weightlessness in the water of the womb to the heaviness of human. The mother is in pain, the baby suspended in limbo, the closest you can get to God. Both fighting for sweet escape. They're screaming, blood, sweat, and tears. So I wonder why we don't grieve at birth the way we do for death, considering it is the only thing that we know lies ahead. Or why we don't celebrate life, live the way we do, one as it just begins. Birth and death are closely related, the only promise of life. My mother's eulogy was the most beautiful poetry I ever had to write. Do you guys know that after examining the autopsied brain tissue of mothers, science has discovered remnants of fetal tissue? Fetal microchimerism, the technical term for this baby mom cell meld, a figurative permanent tether, a spiritual umbilicus. In my culture, there is no such thing as the finality of death. There is life and afterlife. When a star burns out, it doesn't die. It transforms into a black hole akin to grief, creating a new world on the other side. And if you're fortunate, you live many lives, unknowingly attending the funeral of every version of yourself and others. Can you imagine the odds which fate us to one another? What an honor it is to feel. I can smell Anubis near, like a blackened tongue, a murder of crows, or dreaming of rotted teeth. There is a fine line, the length of grief that separates manifestation and simple causation. Sometimes it happens for no reason at all, no fate or divine alignment, our pain connecting dots that don't exist, so our minds bend rather than break. Life is an omen, constantly reminding you to savor it, to write down recipes, to ask important questions, like what did you want to be when the wonderment of being a child was still fresh? Or how would you like your body to be prepared after death? So we create lasting memories and capture moments to fill the gaping hole, the aching absence, the melancholic nostalgia. For others earn their keep. In our exchanges, we take a piece. So pray you also give life a reason to remember, because you never know when it'll be the last. And no matter how good your foresight, there isn't enough planning in this lifetime to prepare you for pain, which like gas consumes all available space. Place it in art, in jewelry, and ink, and altar, and reverence, and dance, and may it remind you that even in death there is purpose. Isn't it mystifying the way your senses can resurrect the ghost of a loved one better than any seance? The faces never fade, only the facade of closure, and the false impression that angels have wings or halos, because unexpressed love will guise itself as grief, and you must learn to grow around it until you can figure out where to place it and yourself. Don't forget it can fly. Disassociation is merely an outer body experience, misunderstood to those who have not yet been taught to speak to the dead. I am a necromancer. I commemorate with spiritual practices older than conjecture of Adam. A tattoo, the only time scarification of the stain left isn't considered self-harm, so I honor my mama on my left arm, a shrine to converse in the form of a prayer, or crying, or anger, or denial, or bargaining, or depression, or acceptance, when you can scale your heart when a feather is too heavy. And you practice deep empathic listening with your fears, an opportunity to make peace with past and wash shame, regret, and guilt with the sands of time, so my body is not confused for a grave. I give of myself all I can muster in hopes of atonement. They say A picture is worth 1,000 words, but what happens when even 1,000 pictures can't conjure enough to lay definition upon the privilege it is to realize the promise of love and loss and all that it means to be human, and when it all ends, what story will your dash tell? Withering on the outskirts, a field of cherry blossoms and rotted roots, I pull weeds in Stockholm that have risen on the third day. There is no resurrection, only exorcisms and overstayed welcomes. A putrid invasion floods the damned, giving way to ablution of the redeemed, leveling perfection. This cup runneth over with the hooves of death and 3 forgotten seals in my left palm. I cannot find a worthy mask, nor the wearer of my face. Where holy water and holy oil settle feuds with a whisper, a mighty hiss, and a double-edged sword to sever the pendulum at its neck, resting on itself, unable to swing back. Oh, how the field quickly becomes overgrown with eyes that cannot discern molehill from mountain and lion from lamb. A one-sided coin, as a token of appreciation, grants entry where I sought escape through revolving doors that lead down rabbit holes where unexpressed love guises itself as grief, like an ideal stillborn in blistering heat. A summer's rain and the mercy of God are synonymous. Deconstructing pain in hopes of engineering pleasure, the alchemist has gone mad from inhaling vapors of a prayer's corpse, gaseous and corroding, consuming all available space. So with this last image, I do want to share that I am a birth and a death doula. And my name, again, is Yexandra Diaz. My business is called Atabe's Doula Services. And yeah, thank you so much, Joanne.